there is a moment when the veil between life and death becomes thin. A fleeting instant where the world you have known dissolves into something vast and unexplainable. It's not an end but a doorway, a threshold inviting you to step into the unknown. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Thodol, speaks to this mystery with a voice both ancient and alive, describing the journey every soul undertakes when it leaves the body behind. But what if this journey wasn't just about death? What if the bardos, which are the stages between death and rebirth, were also guideposts for living, showing us how to wake up to the depths of our own existence? Join me as we journey through the mysterious book that reveals what happens when we die, the bardos, and the fear of death. Humanity's fear of death is rooted in universal concerns: the unknown, non-existence, pain, judgment, separation from loved ones, and unfinished business. The Tibetan Book of the Dead offers profound wisdom to transform these fears into understanding and peace. It reframes death as a transition, not an end, mapping out the stages of the bardo to demystify the unknown and encourage curiosity rather than dread. It teaches that consciousness endures beyond the physical form, alleviating the fear of non-existence. By cultivating mindfulness and compassion, individuals learn to face pain and suffering with equanimity, recognizing them as temporary. In these spaces, reality bends and the soul is confronted with its truest self. The bardos are a mirror, reflecting not only the essence of who we are, but also what we could become. They hold the potential for liberation, but also carry the risk of entanglement in the illusions of fear and desire. The Tibetan Book of the Dead defines 6 distinct bardos that represent transitional states, not just in death, but throughout the entire cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The text shifts focus from fear of judgment to liberation through self-awareness, emphasizing growth over punishment. It also comforts the fear of separation, reminding us of the interconnectedness of all beings, while its teachings on impermanence encourage living with intention, reducing anxiety about unfinished business. Ultimately, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is a guide to embracing death as part of life, offering a path to face mortality with courage, live fully, and unlock a deeper appreciation for the beauty and continuity of existence. The 6 bardos begin with 3 that pertain to the stages of ordinary life. First is the bardo of birth and life, the Kenai bardo. This is the state we live in daily, from the moment of birth until death. It's marked by the experience of being alive, navigating attachments, emotions, and the unfolding events of existence. Second is the bardo of dreaming, the Milan bardo. This state occurs during sleep when the mind is untethered from physical reality. Dreams are seen as a reflection of the mind's deeper layers and a training ground for recognizing illusions and achieving lucidity. Third is the bardo of meditation, the Samton bardo. This arises during deep meditative states, when one's ordinary perception of reality is suspended. Meditation offers glimpses into the nature of consciousness and an opportunity to transcend the illusions of the material world. While these 3 bardos deal with the lived experiences of life, the last 3 explore the profound transitions surrounding death and beyond. Before we begin, know that the bardo isn't a test of faith, nor is it a punishment. It's an invitation, an unveiling of the raw, unfiltered truth of your own mind. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the peaceful and wrathful spirits not as external entities, but as reflections, shadows cast by the light of your consciousness. They are amplifications of everything within you, revealing the attachments, fears, and unacknowledged desires that have shaped your existence. This isn't a gentle revelation. It's a profound confrontation with the self, stripped of illusions. Yet, within this stark honesty lies the chance to transcend lifetimes of karmic weight if you can face it with awareness. Why does this matter here and now in the midst of daily living? Because the bardo isn't just an experience for the dead. It is a reflection of the present. The fears you suppress, the anger you nurture, the love you cultivate, and the compassion you embody are all shaping your path in this moment. The same forces that will confront you after death are already present, influencing your actions and decisions. What the bardo shows is that every choice you make today leaves an imprint on your consciousness, weaving the fabric of your future. This understanding isn't meant to stay locked away in the mysteries of the afterlife. It has profound implications for the living. Imagine confronting your anger, envy, or despair not as burdens to bear, but as guides showing you what needs to be healed. What if you could see your compassion, joy, and wisdom as the seeds of liberation? The visions of the bardo challenge you to do this work now, while you have the gift of time and action in life. You can shape your consciousness, transforming the energies that would otherwise hold you back. The ancient teachings of the Bardo Thodol urge us to step into the role of the observer, not just in death but here and now. They whisper a profound truth. Liberation is not a destination but a practice. It is the act of facing your shadows and your light with equal courage. This wisdom, though ancient, is startlingly relevant. How often do we let our attachments dictate our choices or let fear govern our actions? The Bardo reminds us that these are the chains we carry, and they are ours to break. As you contemplate the meaning of the Bardo, ask yourself, what are the forces within you shaping your reality today? If you were to meet the projections of your consciousness right now, would you recognize them? Would they reflect peace, love, and wisdom, or fear, anger, and desire? And if you don't like what you see, what is stopping you from beginning the transformation now? It is time for our journey to start. The first of these stages, the Chai Bardo, unveils itself at the moment of death. It is said that here, the true nature of reality shines forth like an infinite light, pure and unfiltered. Imagine standing before the vastness of a sky without clouds, where the only thing that remains is light. In this moment, the soul glimpses what the Tibetan teachings call the clear light of reality. It is not something outside of us, it is us, the essence of who we have always been but rarely noticed. Experiencing this clear light is said to be the most significant opportunity for liberation in the entire cycle of life, death, and rebirth. In this moment, the veils of illusion are lifted, and the awakened individual has the chance to transcend the karmic patterns that bind them to samsara, the endless cycle of suffering and rebirth. This is why many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of preparation during life, cultivating awareness of the clear light through meditation, mantra, and mindfulness. This light is not just for the dying. Have you ever had a moment where time seemed to stop, where everything around you felt interconnected and alive? Maybe it was during meditation, a breathtaking sunset, or even in the silence after heartbreak. Those moments are whispers of the Chai Bardo, calling us to remember the infinite truth that lies within. In Tibetan Buddhism, this stage is both a gift and a test. For those unprepared, the light can feel overwhelming, like staring directly into the sun. But for those who recognize it, the light becomes a mirror reflecting their true nature. Parables tell of monks who spend their lives meditating on this light, training their minds to embrace it without fear, knowing that clarity is the only way forward. And yet, clarity is not the end. It is only the beginning of the soul's journey. As the chai bardo fades, another stage begins, plunging us into visions, colors, and shapes born from the mind itself. But even here, there is a secret waiting to be discovered. The journey through the bee of visions, the chid bee, begins immediately after the last inner breath. The point at which the physical body ceases its connection to life and the subtle energies of prana, Sanskrit vu, or wrong Tibetan, are released. In this state, consciousness is no longer tethered to the physical form, and the boundaries of ordinary perception dissolve, revealing profound visions and auditory phenomena. Here, the soul encounters vivid, often overwhelming visions, projections of the mind that reveal the raw power of consciousness itself. It is said that these visions are not random. They arise from the karmic imprints carried by the soul, a concept that aligns with the Buddhist belief in the law of cause and effect. What unfolds in the Chidbi is deeply personal and profoundly universal, a display of divine light and terrifying darkness that challenges the soul to discern between truth and illusion. Within the Dzogchen teachings, these phenomena are referred to as the spontaneously manifesting thought-gal visions. These visions are not external, but arise from the deepest layers of one's consciousness, reflecting the nature of reality, unfiltered, radiating as pure light, colors, sounds, and forms. This is a space of profound peace, where pristine awareness can emerge unclouded by the distractions of the material world. For those who have cultivated spiritual practice during life, these visions may feel familiar, a gateway to the recognition of the clear light, the fundamental radiant purity of existence, an unchanging presence that underlies all of creation, is not something external, but the essence of one's true self, always present, though often obscured by the ego and attachments during life. The Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches that facing these forces is not about avoidance or denial. Instead, it is about recognition and transformation. The wrathful deities, though terrifying in their appearance, are not enemies. They are energies waiting to be understood, shadows waiting for light. The peaceful deities with their radiance remind you of the potential for clarity and love that lies within. Together, they invite you to a greater understanding of your own nature, urging you to transcend fear and embrace truth. However, for sentient beings who have not practiced during their life or who fail to recognize the clear light at the moment of death, the fifth bardo of luminosity becomes a space of confusion and delusion. The radiant visions, instead of being perceived as manifestations of truth, may appear overwhelming or frightening. The untrained mind projects its own fears, attachments, and unacknowledged desires onto these visions, creating a distorted experience. In this state of delusion, the individual may misinterpret the luminous displays as threats or hallucinations, becoming lost in the dazzling complexity of their own consciousness. This misunderstanding often leads to missed opportunities for liberation. The peaceful and wrathful deities that arise in the Chit Bardo are not external gods or entities. They are mirrors of the inner self, amplifications of the emotional and mental patterns one carried in life. For instance, a compassionate and peaceful mind may encounter serene and nurturing forms, while an angry or fearful mind may experience chaotic and wrathful visions. These are reflections of one's inner reality, offering a powerful confrontation with the self. The teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead emphasize that this bardo is not meant to be a punishment, but a chance to see the raw truth of one's being. It is a spiritual mirror, showing the attachments, fears, and unexamined desires that have shaped a lifetime. For those who can face these with awareness, it is an unparalleled opportunity to transcend the karmic baggage of lifetimes. But this state is not solely relevant to the dying. The visions of the Chit Bardo are reflections of the energies we carry now in life. They reveal what lies within us, our fears, our joys, our attachments, and remind us that the journey of spiritual awakening begins here and now. If we can confront and transform these forces in life, we may enter this bardo prepared, capable of recognizing the clear light when it shines. The soul's task is to recognize these visions for what they are, projections of its own nature. This recognition is the key to liberation, a concept echoed in Buddhist teachings that emphasize the importance of seeing through illusion to uncover the truth. But this is no easy task. The Chit-Bi is a realm of extremes. The lights are blindingly vivid, the sounds deafeningly clear. It is said that the unprepared soul may recoil, mistaking the brilliance of the divine for something to fear. Yet within this intensity lies an invitation to awaken. Just as a storm can clear the air, the chaos of the Chit-Bi holds the potential to reveal the stillness beneath. Parables from various traditions echo this journey through the Chit-Bi. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of fire speaks to the illusions that bind the soul, much like the visions in this bardo. Similarly, Plato's allegory of the cave reminds us that what we see is often a shadow of the truth, and only by turning toward the light can we see things as they truly are. The Chit-Bi challenges the soul to turn inward and face its fears, just as these teachings encourage us to look beyond the surface of reality. This state is not a test to pass or fail, but a journey of profound learning and potential awakening. For those who can meet the visions with courage and clarity, the Chit Bardo becomes a gateway to enlightenment. However, for those who remain entangled in fear or clinging to ego, it may lead to further cycles of suffering and rebirth. This duality reflects the ultimate choice in many spiritual paths: to move toward liberation or remain caught in the web of illusion. One famous study that sheds light on this is the Stanford Prison Experiment conducted by Dr. Philip Zimbardo in 1971. Though controversial, it reveals profound truths about human behavior, consciousness, and the environments we create for ourselves. In the experiment, a group of ordinary college students was randomly assigned roles as either prisoners or guards in a simulated prison setting. The roles were arbitrarily assigned by a coin flip, yet within days, the participants became deeply immersed in their assigned identities. The guards began to exhibit cruel and authoritarian behavior, while the prisoners displayed submission, rebellion, or psychological distress. What stood out was not that the individuals were inherently good or bad, but that the environment amplified certain aspects of their personalities. The Stanford prison experiment is often used to illustrate how external conditions can bring out the best or worst in people. But consider this. Those external conditions are mirrors of what exists within us. The guards acted with cruelty because they had the power to do so, and the prisoners suffered because they believed they had no choice. Each participant carried these tendencies already. The situation simply brought them to the surface. This parallels the Bardo teachings, where the peaceful and wrathful deities are not external judges, but projections of your own inner state. What if the prison described in the experiment wasn't just a physical space, but a reflection of the participants' inner worlds? In many ways, life operates in a similar fashion. We find ourselves in situations that seem beyond our control, but those situations often mirror the unresolved emotions, fears, or desires within us. Just as the prisoners felt trapped in their roles, we can feel confined by our attachments, patterns, and unacknowledged wounds. The question is, will you allow those circumstances to define you? Or will you take the opportunity to recognize and transform them? Dr. Zimbardo later discussed the experiment's implications, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness and personal responsibility. He argued that while the environment shapes behavior, individuals still have the power to choose how they respond. This aligns beautifully with the lessons of the Bardo, which teach that awareness is the key to liberation. When you face the forces within, whether they manifest as wrathful deities or oppressive environments, you gain the ability to change your relationship with them. The experiment also highlights how quickly people can lose sight of their true nature under the influence of external conditions. In the Bardo, this is echoed by the illusion of the visions. The wrathful deities appear terrifying, but they are not inherently malevolent. They are distorted reflections of fear and ignorance. Similarly, the gods in Zimbardo's experiment weren't born cruel. They acted out what the environment encouraged. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol challenge us to see through such illusions, whether in life or in death, and recognize the truth beneath the surface. So, what does this mean for you here and now? It means that life itself is a kind of Bardo, a place where the forces within you are constantly shaping the reality you experience. Your fears, your hopes, your beliefs, they are all projections that interact with the world around you, creating your unique experience. But just as the participants in the experiment could have chosen differently, so can you. Awareness of your inner state is the first step. Imagine for a moment if the prisoners had realized their power to resist, or if the guards had questioned their actions. The experiment could have unfolded differently. Just as your life can transform when you face your inner forces with clarity, the same is true for the visions of the Bardo. They challenge you to see what is within and to take responsibility for it. This connection between the spiritual and psychological worlds is profound. The Bardo doesn't exist in isolation. It is a reflection of the choices we make every day. The experiment, though unsettling, serves as a reminder of how easily we can become prisoners of our own minds. But it also offers hope. Just as we can be influenced, we can also choose to influence ourselves, transforming fear into understanding and anger into compassion. If the visions of the Chid Bee began appearing to you now, would you recognize them as projections of your own inner world? Would you have the courage to face them? knowing they are showing you the path to freedom. The experiment tells us that even in the darkest of circumstances, self-awareness and responsibility can light the way. What would happen if you began that process today? This teaching invites us to consider what we are carrying within us at this very moment. Are we preparing ourselves to embrace peace? Or are we feeding illusions that will only grow stronger when the physical world falls away? By examining these questions now, we lay the foundation for liberation, both in this life and in the luminous realms beyond. We can then transition into the Siddha Bardo, the Bardo of rebirth. This is the final stage of transition. It's not merely about endings, but also beginnings, a cycle set in motion by the karma and consciousness cultivated in life. In this bardo, mantras become powerful tools. Repeating these sacred syllables is not just a spiritual exercise. Each mantra acts like a divine tuning fork, aligning your mind with the rhythms of the universe. These sounds train the consciousness to navigate the intense transitions of the bardo, harmonizing it with the flow of existence. In Tibetan Buddhism, the seed bardo is where choices are made, but not in the way we usually think. The attachments and habits developed during life play a critical role here. They pull the soul toward certain realms of rebirth like a magnet drawn to its charge. This is why mantras and meditative practices are so vital. They cultivate awareness and clarity, allowing one to face the chaotic pull of karmic forces with a steady mind. Zolan teachings, along with the Tibetan Book of the Dead, frame this bardo as an opportunity. Rebirth is not random. It is deeply connected to the actions, thoughts, and intentions of a lifetime. Mantras, when practiced daily, are like seeds planted in the fertile ground of the mind. Over time, they grow into a deep resilience and fearlessness, tools that allow the individual to approach death and life with unparalleled clarity. Imagine life as a preparation for this pivotal moment. These Tibetan practices aren't just about preparing for death. They are about transforming how we live every day. When each moment is seen as precious and each action as meaningful, life becomes infused with purpose. Petty concerns fall away, replaced by a sense of focus and alignment with something greater than the self. To understand the impact of this, let's draw on the famous psychological concept of habit loops. Studies show that our minds are conditioned by repeated patterns of thought and behavior. Just as habits in life can lead to positive or negative outcomes, the mental habits we cultivate also shape our journey in death. Think of mantras as tools for reprogramming the subconscious, creating patterns that guide us toward light, compassion, and clarity instead of fear and delusion. This approach to life and death challenges modern Western attitudes. In many cultures today, death is treated as a tragedy to be feared or avoided, something to be hidden away in sterile clinical settings. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's the opposite. Death is seen as a teacher, a motivator to live courageously and fully. Instead of running from it, practitioners embrace death as a sacred transition, an opportunity to break free from the endless cycle of rebirth and step closer to liberation. The Bardo Thodol serves as a guide, not only for the deceased, but also for the living. Imagine the scene in Tibetan monasteries as someone nears death. A lama sits by their side, whispering the teachings. These words are not merely comforting, they are precise instructions, orienting the soul through the luminous visions, serene deities, and fierce demons that arise in the afterlife. So then, the Sid Bardo presents a profound question. What patterns are we creating now in this life? The attachments we cling to, the emotions we nurture, and the awareness we cultivate are not just shaping our current experience. They are carving the path for what comes next. This is why Tibetan Buddhists stress the importance of facing these forces now, transforming fear into fearlessness and attachment into liberation. In this teaching lies an invitation. What if we began to live as if every action, every thought, and every breath were part of a greater journey? What if we prepared for death not out of fear, but as a way to live more fully, more consciously? By doing so, we not only ease the transition of the Sid Bardo, but transform the life we're living right now into something extraordinary. This perspective offers a radical shift. Death is not the end, and life is not the beginning. Both are part of a greater cycle, a rhythm we can learn to harmonize with. Through these practices, we gain the tools not just to face the unknown, but to embrace it with grace, clarity, and fearless purpose. To better understand the wisdom of the Sid Bardo, let's turn to a philosopher whose ideas resonate deeply with the themes of transition, awareness, and choice. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, the German polymath who lived between 1646 and 1716. Leibniz, though not directly connected to Tibetan Buddhism, explored concepts of life, death, and existence that parallel the insights of the Bardo Thodol. Leibniz believed in the idea of a pre-established harmony, that the universe is composed of countless individual monads or units of consciousness, each reflecting the whole in its own unique way. These monads, according to him, operate in harmony with one another, even though they are not directly influencing one another. This idea can feel strikingly similar to the Tibetan understanding of karmic energy. Every life, every decision, every action we take ripples outward, interconnected yet distinct, shaping the transitions of the Sid Bardo and the cycle of rebirth. Think of your own life as a kind of monad. Everything you experience, your joys, your struggles, your fears, exists as part of a grander harmony, yet it is also deeply personal. The vision and choices faced in the Sid Bardo, as described in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, reflect this personal universe. Just as Leibniz's monads carry within them the essence of the whole, our actions in life carry the essence of our future journeys. Each thought, emotion, and action is like a tiny note in a cosmic symphony, playing its role in the great transitions of life, death, and rebirth. But what does this mean for us? For Leibniz, the universe was the best possible version of itself. Not perfect, but the best it could be given the laws and limitations within it. This optimistic view can inform how we approach the Sid Bardo. Rather than seeing the cycle of rebirth as something to fear or avoid, it becomes an opportunity. Each moment in the Sid Bardo, the bright lights, the overwhelming emotions, the karmic pull towards certain realms, can be seen not as punishment, but as part of a harmonious process. Even the struggles and challenges of life have their place in this cosmic design. Leibniz's philosophy reminds us that awareness is key. Just as he emphasized the importance of understanding our place in the grand harmony of the universe, Tibetan Buddhism teaches us to recognize the forces within ourselves. The Sid Bardo is not about being swept away by karma or random events. It is about seeing clearly, understanding deeply, and making choices with intention. When we practice mantras or meditate, we are not just preparing for death. We are tuning our consciousness, much like a monad, to align with the rhythm of the universe. Leibniz also wrote extensively about the idea of possibility. He believed that every choice we make opens up new possibilities, much like the infinite branches of a tree. This is especially relevant to the Cid Bardo. In this state, the soul is presented with countless possibilities for rebirth, influenced by the habits and intentions cultivated in life. By choosing awareness and clarity now in life, we prepare ourselves to navigate these possibilities with grace and purpose. Imagine a person who has spent their life cultivating kindness, patience, and understanding. Their monad, so to speak, vibrates with harmony and light. In the Cid Bardo, this light becomes their guide, helping them to see through the chaos of karmic visions and find their way to a higher rebirth or even its liberation. Contrast this with someone who has lived in anger, fear, and attachment. Their monad is clouded, their vision obscured, and the Cid Bardo becomes a reflection of these struggles. Leibniz's insights, while rooted in Western philosophy, beautifully complement the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. Both systems ask us to look inward, to understand the forces at play within ourselves and the universe, and to make choices that align with a higher harmony. Whether through mantras, meditation, or reflection on life's transitions, we are given tools to navigate not just the Cid Bardo, but every moment of existence with clarity, intention, and courage. As you sit with these teachings, consider this. What kind of monad are you shaping? What ripples are you sending into the cosmic harmony? And how will these choices guide you? Not just in this life, but in the great transitions to come. As consciousness begins to separate from the physical body, Tibetan teachings encourage individuals to embrace this transition rather than fear it. They are guided to recognize the phenomena encountered during this time as reflections of their own mind, the essence of their consciousness. Each stage of the journey, from encounters with serene deities embodying compassion, to confrontations with wrathful figures symbolizing hidden fears and desires, is an opportunity for profound insight and liberation. Now imagine facing these experiences not as threats, but as gateways to understanding. Compare this with many Western approaches, where death is often seen purely as a medical event managed clinically and shrouded in fear or avoidance. Tibetan Buddhism presents a radically different view. Death is not merely the cessation of life, but a spiritual passage, offering a chance to deepen one's awareness and transcend limitations. Consider the peace that could arise from knowing death is not a terrifying plunge into the unknown, but a guided journey, illuminating the mysteries of your consciousness. The Bardo Thodol, or Tibetan Book of the Dead, serves as more than a text. It is a companion, a guide through the dissolution of life's boundaries. It prepares the soul to navigate these transitions with clarity and grace, helping it recognize each vision, sound, and emotion as part of its own mind. You may wonder how these ancient teachings apply to life in the modern world. The answer lies in their universal truths. The lessons of the Bardo Thodol are not solely for monks in remote monasteries. They are tools for anyone seeking to live with greater intention and presence. By practicing mindfulness, cultivating compassion, and acknowledging the reality of impermanence, we can prepare not only for death, but for a more meaningful and fearless life. What if, instead of avoiding thoughts of death, you welcomed them as a teacher? How might it feel to live each day with the assurance that you are ready for the ultimate transition? Confident, clear, and courageous? This perspective reframes death not as an end, but as an integral part of the journey, urging us to approach each moment of life with reverence and purpose. The way we live is intimately connected to the way we die. By embracing mortality, we can free ourselves from fear and unlock a deeper, more purposeful existence. As you reflect on these ideas, ask yourself, how would your life transform if you approached each moment with the same presence and reverence that Tibetan monks bring to the process of dying? The path is clear. To learn to die consciously is to live fully, with wisdom, courage, and an unshakable connection to the essence of what it means to be alive.